Marriage, to me, was supposed to be the one safe place in a world full of storms. I worked hard, paid the bills, tried to keep our little family afloat in a city where money slipped through your fingers faster than water. Amelia, my wife, handled the everyday errands. She was in charge of groceries, paying utilities, and most importantly, the weekly bank runs. That had always been her role. She liked feeling responsible for the household, and I let her. Why wouldn't I? She was my wife, my partner, the woman I had vowed to trust. The bank was just a few blocks from my office downtown. Sometimes I even joke with her, "Hey, don't fall in love with the ATM guy while you're there." She'd laugh, roll her eyes, and call me paranoid. I didn't know back then that jokes can become prophecies. The first time I met him was in passing. A tall man in his 40s, well-groomed, suit pressed to perfection, voice smooth like polished wood. His name was Daniel Reed, the branch manager. He had that salesman charm, eye contact that lingered, a handshake that made you feel important, and a smile that could melt down suspicion. "Your wife is wonderful," he had told me once when I ran into them at the counter. "She's always so polite and organized. A real lady." I smiled back, because what else was I supposed to do? Back then, those words felt harmless. Compliments. Just small talk. But looking back, I see how he was planting seeds. Seeds that grew in the cracks of my marriage. The changes started small. Amelia was never the type to fuss over herself. She was the kind of woman who wore jeans and a ponytail to the grocery store. No makeup, no effort, just herself. That's the woman I fell in love with. But suddenly, she was putting on light lipstick before heading to the bank. She ironed her blouses. She wore the perfume I had bought her years ago, the one she never touched unless it was for a wedding or anniversary dinner. I remember one Saturday morning, as she stood in front of the mirror fixing her hair before leaving, I teased her. "Wow, the bank must be handing out awards for best dressed customer now." She smirked. "Maybe I just don't want to look like a housewife all the time." It stung a little, but I brushed it off. People change, I told myself. Maybe she just wanted to feel young again. But deep down, something felt off. The day it all broke open started with something small. I had been looking for a receipt in her purse when I found 2 crumpled movie tickets. A Friday night show, exactly the same evening she told me she was at the bank sorting out a problem with our account. My heart thudded in my chest. I wanted to believe there was some explanation. Maybe she went with a friend. Maybe she just didn't want me to know she had treated herself. But when I checked the timestamps, I knew. Banks don't stay open past midnight. The following week, when she told me she needed to withdraw cash again, I didn't argue. I waited 10 minutes, then followed her car. She parked outside the bank, went in, and stayed longer than usual. My hands were sweating against the steering wheel. And then I saw him. Daniel, the manager. He walked out with her, both of them laughing, her hand brushing against his arm like they were a couple. They crossed the street and sat at a cafe, side by side, sipping coffee, their heads leaning closer than 2 people who were just friends ever would. I can still remember the exact feeling in my chest. It wasn't just heartbreak. It was humiliation, like I'd been made into a clown without even knowing the circus had started. That night, as she came home humming softly to herself, I sat at the dining table waiting. "Where were you?" I asked. She froze, keys still in her hand. "At the bank. You know that." I leaned forward, my voice low. "Then tell me why I saw you having coffee with Daniel Reed." The color drained from her face. She stammered, tried to laugh it off, but I had already seen the truth. "Don't lie." I snapped. "I followed you. I saw you. How long, Amelia? How long have you been sneaking around with him?" Her hands trembled. Tears welled up. And then the dam broke. "It wasn't supposed to happen," she whispered. "He listened to me. He made me feel alive again. You're always so busy, so tired. I slammed my fist on the table, making her flinch. "So you betrayed me for coffee dates and cheap flattery? You threw away 12 years for a man who smiles at everyone the same way." She sobbed, but to me, her tears fell hollow. They weren't for what she had done. They were for getting caught. The weeks that followed were hell. She begged for forgiveness, swore it was a mistake, swore she ended it. She tried to reach for me at night, but I turned away. I couldn't bear her touch. One night, I packed a suitcase and sat it by the door. She collapsed to the floor, crying, "Please don't leave. I'll do anything. I'll cut him off. I'll change." But betrayal is a poison. Once it's in your blood, it spreads. It doesn't just kill the marriage. It kills the man who believed in it. I didn't scream. I didn't hit her. I just walked out into the night, suitcase in hand, leaving behind a woman who had burned our home to ashes with her choices. I still pass by that bank sometimes. Daniel is still there, smiling behind his desk, shaking hands with customers, pretending to be a respectable man. Amelia? She still calls sometimes, asking if we can talk, but the sound of her voice only reminds me of betrayal. You never think it'll be you. You read about affairs, you hear stories, but you never imagine the woman you share a bed with sneaking around with a man who handles your cash withdrawals. But life is cruel like that, and now I know the truth. The biggest theft that ever happened in that bank wasn't money. It was my wife's loyalty. Every night, I'd lie in bed staring at the ceiling, my chest tight, Amelia's quiet breathing beside me like a cruel reminder of everything broken between us. I'd close my eyes and see them together, her hand on Daniel's arm, her head leaning toward his. I'd replay every excuse she'd ever given me about problems at the bank and wonder how many of those were lies. Was she really there to fix an account? Or was she slipping into his office, closing the door, while I sat at work clueless? Sometimes I'd turn to look at her sleeping face and wonder, who is this woman? She wasn't the wife I married. She wasn't the girl who once held my hand at the altar and promised forever. This woman was a stranger, and I was trapped in the same house with her. It all came to a head one Friday night. I had been drinking whiskey, the kind that burns going down but numbs you for a while. Amelia came into the living room, sat across from me, and whispered, "Please, Mark, can we just talk? Please don't throw away everything we have." I laughed bitterly. "Funny, that's exactly what you did. Except you threw it away for free." Her face flushed red. "It wasn't like that. You don't understand. I was lonely. You're never here. You're always working, always tired. Daniel, he made me feel." I cut her off with a sharp wave of my hand. Don't you dare try to justify it. You could have come to me. You could have said something. Instead, you went behind my back and spread your legs for a man who balances checkbooks for a living. She flinched like I had slapped her. Tears brimmed in her eyes. "You don't have to be so cruel." "Cruel?" I shouted, my voice echoing through the house. "Cruel is what you did to me. Cruel is smiling in my face while sneaking around behind my back. Cruel is letting me kiss you goodnight while you're thinking about him." Her sobs filled the room, but I felt nothing. No pity, no compassion. Just rage and a hollow ache that wouldn't leave. The next morning, she tried again. She made breakfast, pancakes, eggs, coffee, the kind of breakfast she hadn't made in years. She sat across the table, her hands trembling as she pushed a plate toward me. "I ended it," she said softly. "With Daniel. It's over. I swear to you, Mark, it'll never happen again." I stared at her, fork in hand. "Do you really think it's that simple? That you can just cut him off and everything goes back to normal?" Her lips quivered. "I'll do anything. Counseling, moving cities, cutting off every friend if I have to. Please, I just need one more chance." I set the fork down and leaned closer. My voice was quiet, cold. "Tell me, Amelia, when you kissed him, did you think about me? When you let him touch you, did you remember your husband waiting at home?" Her tears spilled onto the table, but she stayed silent, and her silence was the loudest answer of all. A week later, I decided to confront the other half of this betrayal. I walked into the bank on my lunch break, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, the smell of paper and ink heavy in the air. Daniel Reed stood near the back, smiling his politician smile as he shook a customer's hand. When his eyes landed on me, that smile faltered. Just a fraction, but I saw it. "Mr. Turner," he greeted, his voice syrupy smooth. "Good to see you. How can I help today?" I stepped closer, lowering my voice so no one else would hear. "You already helped yourself to enough. don't you think? His jaw tightened. For the first time, that polished mask slipped. I don't know what you mean. I leaned in until we were nearly nose to nose. Stay away from my wife. If I catch you near her again, I swear no job, no reputation, no polished little smile is going to save you. For the first time, I saw fear flicker in his eyes. And I walked out, chest heaving, adrenaline pumping like fire through my veins. That night, Amelia tried to touch me, tried to lay her head on my shoulder like nothing had happened. I pushed her away. You don't get to do that anymore. I told her. Her voice cracked. I told you I ended it. What more do you want from me? I looked at her long and hard. The truth, but you can't give me that. You've lied so many times. I don't even know who you are anymore. She broke then, falling to her knees, clutching at my hands, sobbing, begging. Please, Mark, don't leave me. I made a mistake, I know, but I love you. I still love you. And that was the cruelest part, because maybe in her twisted way, she did love me. But love without loyalty isn't love at all. It's just possession. Weeks dragged on, and the house grew colder by the day. We slept in the same bed, but worlds apart. Meals were eaten in silence. The laughter, the warmth, it was all gone. One evening, I sat alone in the living room, suitcase by my side. Amelia walked in, her face pale when she saw it. Please, she whispered, don't do this. I stood, my chest heavy but firm. You did this. The day you chose him over me. The day you decided our marriage was worth less than your little secret. I'm done living in this graveyard of lies. She reached for me, but I stepped back, and for the first time in months, I felt free. I walked out that door and didn't look back.